goodness, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is Strong Opinion Sports. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Today is Wednesday, March 7th. Oh, school is kicking my butt. Does this face look tired? I probably don't sound tired. I'm incredibly tired. I do have some great excuses for you guys you'll enjoy later, but man, I gotta say, it is good to be recording right now. All right, I want to start with this. I want to jump right into it. When is the last time you heard someone brag about their tires? Never. Unless you work at like Tire Factory, never. You've never heard that. Doesn't happen. I worked at a car place for over 2 years. And guys would come in and talk about their spoiler, their paint job, their rims. Occasionally, a great sports car would come through. They'd talk about their awesome engine, their beefy engine. But let me say, your car can be the most beautiful thing in the entire world. But without tires, that car's not going to go very far. You need tires. They're necessary. Right now, there is all this talk about Saquon Barkley. And I can't deny it. Man, the dude's incredible. His combine numbers are unbelievable. He jumped higher than Julio Jones. I think he ran faster than Antonio Brown. I don't know. He was just incredible. It's undeniable. Saquon Barkley is probably the best athlete in this year's NFL draft. Honestly, like, he's unbelievable. But do you want my honest opinion about Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley is fool's gold. I said it. I will. I said it, and I'll say it again. How useful is Saquon Barkley without an offensive line, without a quarterback? Here's a question. Why aren't the Denver Broncos focusing their entire offseason on getting Saquon Barkley? Or in fact, why isn't their entire focus on finding a running back? I mean, the Broncos are really close. They're so close to being successful. They have a great roster. But how come they're looking for a quarterback and offensive lineman? That's because a quarterback is more important than a running back. Plain and simple. You don't like it, maybe, but that's the truth. That's the honest truth. Offensive linemen, they're like tires. They're boring. Nobody brags about them. Nobody brags about their tires. But without tires, you can't move. They're necessary. You need them. Without a great offensive line, what is Saquon Barkley actually worth? I mean, there are so many arguments against taking Saquon Barkley number one overall. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Honestly, there are, Reggie Bush failed. Trent Richardson failed. He was a number 3 overall pick a couple years ago. He was a bust. The Browns, by the way, have not picked a quarterback in the top 5. I don't think even in the top 10 since Tim Couch. And in my opinion, I watched a lot of Tim Couch. I don't think he necessarily was a bust. He went to an expansion roster that was awful. He got hurt. I mean, I guess you could consider that a bust, but when is the last time the Browns really went all in on a quarterback in the draft? I mean, think about this. Here's a weird stat for you. Johnny Manziel, Brady Quinn, and Brandon Weeden. They were all the 22nd overall pick. They were all round 1, the number 22nd overall pick. That's just a weird stat. But what that tells us is the Browns have not gone all in on a quarterback in a draft in a long, long time. And another argument is that running backs in the later rounds have been very successful. What makes a successful running back is largely determined by your quarterback and your offensive line. I am not saying that Saquon Barkley is not incredible. Let me be very clear. Saquon Barkley is the best skill player in this year's NFL draft. I would draft him over a receiver. But even Saquon Barkley cannot win games by himself. Without a quarterback, without an offensive line, Saquon Barkley's not very helpful. That's why I think Saquon Barkley's fool's gold. Everybody's talking about how they're going to draft Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's great for a team with a good offensive line or a quarterback. But if you don't have those, that should be your priority over Saquon Barkley. Plain and simple. My opinion, I believe it very strongly. Man, it is good to be back. I'm so excited. I was sick as a dog for like 6 days. I mean, honestly, this was the most sick I've been in years. I couldn't talk on Saturday. It was awful. Still been coughing a lot, but I've been drinking a bunch of Alka-Seltzer Plus and just doing my best. And man, I have a great podcast for you guys today. We're going to go in depth. Here's what I did on my break. I was sick, took Saturday. Recently, I took time off, right? I watched a ton of quarterbacks. I did my homework and I laid in my bed and watched quarterbacks on YouTube. Honestly, that's about all I did. We're going to talk about the NFL Combine, kind of my takeaways from the NFL Combine. The Seahawks are changing their ways. That's a very interesting conversation we're going to have fun with. We're going to talk about the 49ers and Raiders Bay Area rivalry. It's interesting. We'll break that down. There's more. There's a lot of really fun, interesting stuff. I'm really, really excited for today's podcast. Remember, you can subscribe to Strong Opinion Sports on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on YouTube. Help me grow Strong Opinion Sports by telling your friends about this podcast. If you like this podcast as much as I do, share this with your friends on Facebook, on Reddit, on Twitter, whatever it is. Tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports and help me grow. We just passed 600 subscribers on YouTube. We're like at 620 right now. Blows my mind. It's unbelievable. It's so cool. I love it so much, and I'm so grateful for you guys and your support. You guys seem to really like me, which is cool. And even if you hate me, I hope my podcast challenges your opinions and you get something interesting out of it. That's my goal, is to be interesting. And I'm so pumped about the route this is going and how well Strong Opinion Sports is doing. I'm going to drink some Alka-Seltzer because that seems like it helps me a lot. It's still nasty. Oh, man. Ugh. So I've been single for about 2 years now. A little over 2 years. And when I look back on my time with my ex-girlfriend, I mean, we were really serious. I have fond memories. I really do. The girl and I used to hike all the time. We would backpack on weekends. I remember I have a great memory of us sleeping in the woods on Mount St. Helens in Southwest Washington. Awesome. Great memory. I mean, these are irreplaceable memories I cannot duplicate. I look back fondly. But when that relationship ended, it was time. It was the right thing to do. Even though I look back and I remember good moments, it was still the right thing to do to break up with her. It was over. Again, in spite of all those memories, it was the right thing to do. And that leads me to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are in the process of breaking up with the Legion of Boom. It was fun while it lasted. It was great. It was awesome. Seahawks went to 2 Super Bowls. They won one of them. Man, it was fun, but it's time to move on. It's time to move on from the Legion of Boom. It's time for the Seahawks to trade their old defensive stars for younger talent and support for Russell Wilson. Get Russell Wilson some help. Get him an offensive line, for goodness sake, please. Please. Well, the Seahawks just took their first step towards shifting the paradigm today. They traded 32-year-old Pro Bowler Michael Bennett, a fantastic defensive end, to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles get Michael Bennett and a 7th-round draft pick, while the Seattle Seahawks acquired a 5th-round pick and a wide receiver named Marcus Johnson. Who is Marcus Johnson? Let's break that down. Marcus Johnson is entering his 2nd year of the NFL. He's from Texas, went to University of Texas. And his NFL stats, this is really all it is. He has 5 catches for 45 yards. This guy hasn't done much of anything in the NFL. So why would the Seahawks trade a Pro Bowl defensive end for basically nothing? They gave him away for free, it seems like. What the Seahawks did with this trade was make a statement. The Seahawks are moving on from their aging veterans. And the rumor is their vocal leader, Richard Sherman, is next. Yes, the Seahawks are dismantling the Legion of Boom. They're moving on. And this is a good move. This is great. I mean, they're good athletes. They're good guys. But their older defensive athletes are taking up too much cap room. Just the truth. The glory days are over for the Seattle Seahawks. It's time to move on. It is time to move on in Seattle. I want to see the Seahawks give Russell Wilson help on the offensive line. And I want to see them give Russell Wilson weapons to work with. I think it's interesting. Pete Carroll has a knack for finding defensive stars later in the NFL draft. And I'm very curious to see who emerges in this next season for the Seattle Seahawks. But ultimately, this is the beginning of the end. Right now, Seahawks have begun the process of breaking up with the Legion of Boom. It's funny. 49ers fans can celebrate. They're happy. If you're a 49ers fan listening to this podcast, which most of you are, celebrate, man. This is the beginning of a new era in the NFC West. So we just had the NFL Combine. And for me, the NFL Combine is a mixed bag. I mean, we put way too much weight into the NFL Combine. Case in point, this is what happened last year at the NFL Combine. John Ross from Washington put on a show. He tore it up. He blew everybody away. Super fast, quick, looked great in shorts. And then in his rookie season, he was almost non-existent for the Bengals. Yeah, the Bengals used the number 9 overall pick on John Ross. And injuries and all kinds of stuff hampered his rookie season. Nothing. Number 9 overall pick seems to be wasted. And in contrast, Juju Smith-Schuster, who did not impress really anybody at the NFL draft. He was young. He was 20 years old. He was drafted in the second round of the NFL draft. And he put on a clinic this season. He's one of the best young receivers in the entire NFL. And that is putting it mildly. The point is, we put a lot of value in the NFL Combine. I don't buy it. I really don't. And when it comes to quarterbacks, we go especially crazy. We go way overboard with quarterbacks in the NFL draft. Like, you do realize everybody at the Combine is in shorts. And let me tell you, I played quarterback. It's pretty difficult to look terrible in shorts. It's possible. It's possible to miss every throw and look awful, but it is dang tough. It is really hard to look awful as a quarterback when you're just throwing around in shorts. And it's funny, man. People are like, Josh Allen has this huge arm. He can throw 90 yards, 70 miles an hour. Josh Allen. Oh, so what? Who cares? Since when has arm strength alone ever won a Super Bowl? The guy can't hit the broadside of a barn. Doesn't do it. Josh Allen's overhyped, and the NFL Combine's all about hype. Another perplexing thing for me is Lamar Jackson decided not to run a 40-yard dash. Again, the Combine is all about hype. I said it. I'll say it again. Like Saquon Barkley goes to the Combine. Everyone thinks this guy is Superman. Suddenly, Saquon Barkley's the number 1 overall pick because of his Combine numbers. Did you not watch his tape? That's why he should be the number 1 overall pick. Josh Allen's arm strength. Woo. Shaquem Griffin. Oh, he ran a 4.38. Woo. My opinion is Lamar Jackson is the best athlete we have ever seen. Lamar Jackson is the best athlete we have ever seen play quarterback. Ever. And yet, for some reason, Lamar Jackson is shying away from this. He decided not to run a 40-yard dash at the NFL draft. And I understand this to some degree, right? I get it. Lamar Jackson wants to be viewed as a quarterback. He wants people to be looking at him as a passer, not as a runner. But man, if I draft Lamar Jackson, a large part of that is because of his athletic ability. Dude, it's your best quality. Show it off. Flaunt it. It's your best asset. I really believe Lamar Jackson should have shown off his best asset at the NFL draft. Honestly. And I know he's not a receiver. You know why I know Lamar Jackson's not a wide receiver? Like, I get it. But the reason why Lamar Jackson's not a wide receiver, honestly, it's because he doesn't want to play wide receiver. There's all kinds of crazy narratives out there. Here's the truth about Lamar Jackson. He's such a good athlete. The NFL GMs look around and they're like, man, we just don't want to waste him on the sideline. He's too good an athlete to not be on the field. We're going to have him sit behind some quarterback it doesn't make sense. Look, I would draft Lamar Jackson. I really would. Here's what I would do with Lamar Jackson. I would draft him and I would give him a year or two, and I would try to develop this kid. Because You can't change Lamar Jackson's throwing motion, nor should you, by the way. But Lamar Jackson has some promise, and most of it is because of his athletic ability. We'll talk about the throwing motion. Guys throw the way they throw, and that's period. That's how they throw. And you can make small tweaks to their arm angles and little tiny things, but for the most part, you cannot completely alter the way a guy throws a football. Like Tom Brady, he throws the way he's going to throw. You can make small little adjustments, but for the most part, it's the same thing every time. Aaron Rodgers, same deal. He throws the way he throws. You can make small adjustments, but I don't want to see him. Here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson dropping back and thinking about his throwing motion every time he makes a throw. That's what I don't want to see. I have an interesting theory about Tebow time. Remember Tebow time a couple of years ago? It's when Tim Tebow would play way better in the fourth quarter than he did the rest of the game. Here's what happened with Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow tried to fix his throwing motion. He had this really deep, long, left-handed throwing motion. And he tried to shorten it up and change it and did all this training and all these videos on YouTube. Here's what happened with Tim Tebow in Tebow time. In the first 3 quarters, Tim Tebow was bent out of shape. He's thinking about the way he's throwing. He's trying to throw a post, and he's just thinking about his throwing motion. In crunch time, when it mattered most in the fourth quarter, he'd say, screw it. Tim Tebow would say, screw it. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go back to my old way. I don't know if he even thought about it, but if you watch the film, he goes back and he throws his old way he used to throw at Florida. And magically, his accuracy would go up because he'd done it his whole life. Don't try to completely overhaul an entire throwing motion. If you throw how you throw, you've done it your whole life. Make small adjustments. I can see that. But with Lamar Jackson, I wouldn't. I wouldn't try to do that. I think Lamar Jackson can throw enough. He's good enough, and I wouldn't try to change it too much. You can't do much about your waist up. You throw the way you throw. But footwork is different. Footwork can be changed, and that is the key to helping Lamar Jackson. If you can fix Lamar Jackson's footwork, the guy's going to make significant strides and play a lot better. That's what happened with Deshaun Watson last year in the NFL. Remember him for the Texans? Well, in college, believe it or not, Deshaun Watson really struggled with the deep ball. He had bad footwork. He couldn't throw the ball deep down the sidelines. He was throwing to a spot, not throwing to a guy. No, it was ugly. Kind of put it up there. It would hang too long. I didn't like it. Well, in the NFL, Deshaun Watson fixed his footwork. Magically, guess what? Suddenly, Deshaun Watson's deep ball was much, much better. And that is the kind of thing we could see happen to Lamar Jackson. That could happen. Now, I really believe if you can fix Lamar Jackson's footwork, you could make him an incredibly interesting quarterback. Because we've never seen an athlete like him. We've seen Michael Vick. We've seen Randall Cunningham. Go back and watch. He was incredible. But he's a better athlete, I believe, than both. And, we'll see if he gets hurt. It seems like every running quarterback ever gets hurt. But, man, Lamar Jackson is just a fascinating dude. And it's so weird to me. There's 3 athletes in the world you cannot criticize. You can't criticize Cam Newton. You can't criticize Russell Westbrook. And now a new person has emerged that apparently you can't say anything negative about. If you say anything negative about this guy, I'm not going to go there. There's all kinds of crazy accusations being thrown around. You can't criticize Lamar Jackson for some reason. It's just dumb. He's not the best quarterback in this draft. It's ridiculous to say that. But he is a quarterback. He is a quarterback. And I think there's a good foundation you could work with. Because if you can mold that athlete into a great quarterback, oh, man, he's scary. He's a weapon. That's what he is. Lamar Jackson is an incredibly talented, incredibly versatile weapon that if you can get him throwing NFL throws and with his athletic ability, oh, my goodness. Oh, man, he's scary. He really is. But people need to stop saying Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback in this year's NFL draft. He's not. He's a project at best. He's a project at best. And the fact that you can't criticize him anymore is ridiculous. I say whatever I want. I criticize whoever I want. If you don't like it, go home. That's just how it is. But it's weird. You cannot say anything negative about Lamar Jackson. And if you do, you're a bad person. Come on. Get out of here. That narrative is just driving me crazy. I'm done with it. I was sick. I was sicker than I've been in the last 10 years recently. It was awful. What I did while I was sick, I used that time to watch a ton of these college quarterbacks. I watched a ton of film. You look it up. You go to YouTube. Sam Darnold versus Arizona State. Sam Darnold versus Arizona. Sam Darnold versus Notre Dame. Josh Rosen versus Washington. Josh Rosen versus Arizona State. All kinds of footage. Josh Rosen versus Texas A&M. I was trying to determine who was the best quarterback in this year's NFL draft. I wanted to watch a bunch of film, report back, and share my findings with you guys. So first of all, winning matters. And this is something you hear people say all the time. He's a winner. Great. That's awesome. That's not very helpful, though. How did he win? Don't be stupid. Don't tell me he's a winner, therefore he's going to be a great NFL quarterback. It's not how it works. I can't remember. Jalen Hurts, he won a ton of games for Alabama. Doesn't make him a great NFL quarterback. It just means he had a really great team around him. But what I did was I watched these quarterbacks in college, and 3 very quickly rose to the top. I want to remind you guys of Deshaun Watson at Clemson 2 years ago. I was convinced in that NFL draft, Deshaun Watson was the best quarterback there. You know why? Because Deshaun Watson won games because he was the best player on the field. He elevated his team and carried his team to victories. Again, he wasn't just a winner that won because he had a good team. It helped him, but he won games with his arm and carried his team sometimes to victory. Now, 3 guys in this year's NFL draft did that. Now, Lamar Jackson is close, but Lamar Jackson is not one of those 3. There's 3 quarterbacks that are fantastic that I think could play next year. Then there are 3 more quarterbacks I would draft. But we will discuss Lamar Jackson later. But right now, I want to dive into that. So Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield won games with their arm. They made incredible throws and elevated their team tremendously. So did Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen elevated his team, but he did not win a lot of games. So Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen had systems and teams that were working against them. Sam Darnold dealt with bad play calling, and Josh Rosen had just horrendous teammates that could not seem to catch a ball for their life. I mean, Sam Darnold had awful people surrounding him. I worked at a movie theater in high school, and I worked in a bad system that set me up to fail. Have you ever done that? Have you ever worked in a system that's working against you? And it's really frustrating. So what I did, I worked at the front counter. I sold popcorn. And my boss wanted us to sell more, upgrade from a small drink to a medium. Do you want candy with that? Do you want a bagel maybe, or pretzel is what they're called? And I'll be honest, I was great at it. I was a great salesman. I was good with people. I didn't force it if you didn't want extras. But you'd be surprised how many people, if you just informed them, hey, honestly, that's really cheap if you just get this too. Oh, I'll take a Milk Duds or a Mike and Ike's. They wanted the stuff. They just weren't informed on the prices. And that really sold a lot of stuff. But some people simply didn't want you to buy it. And I wouldn't push it. I just wasn't going to push people. I didn't like that. Wasn't comfortable with that. Because nobody likes a pushy guy. It's just not who I am. I don't like that. Well, my boss, mainly my coworkers, my boss wanted my coworkers to sell more. Because I was the top. I was selling the most. So my boss, to elevate everybody else in the company, he initiated a mandatory script we had to use. God, it was frustrating. He made us say these certain words. We had to hold up candy every time we were selling. Every single transaction, we had to hold up candy. And he would hover around us to make sure we were following his really cheesy, really embarrassing script. And it was so frustrating. What was really frustrating is his scripts made people angry. And it made my job more difficult. Very similar to what happened with Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. But I figured out how to overcome my boss's terrible scripts. Even though he's standing right behind me, I'd have fun with it. I'd say, I have to say this. Do you want more? I'd hold up. They make me hold up candy. I'd make fun of it. And I'd have fun with the script. And that actually made me sell even more. Because people, I think, felt bad for me. And I was just good with people. So I don't mean to knock USC's coaches. But Sam Darnold played in an unimaginative unimaginative system that did not put people in their best position to be successful. That's what you do as an offensive coordinator. You create an offense that uses the strengths of your players and elevates everybody else. So Sam Darnold played in a bad system where Josh Rosen just had god-awful teammates. Oh my goodness. I so badly wanted to criticize Josh Rosen for not winning more. I wanted to be, you know what? Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold won a lot of games. Where are Josh Allen's wins? And then I watched, and I was like, oh man. The only reason why UCLA's games were even close was because they had Josh Rosen. Kind of reminded me of Tony Romo a couple of years back. People would just trash on Tony Romo. And it's like they were unaware that, the only reason why these games are even close is because the Cowboys have Tony Romo. So Josh Rosen didn't win a ton, but he was the reason why UCLA was competitive. So Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield elevated their teams to victory. Josh Rosen elevated his awful team to even being competitive. Just how it is. It's the truth. So when I look at this year's NFL draft, there are 6 quarterbacks I would even consider drafting in the NFL draft. Only 6. 3 I love and 3 that I like. So there are 3 that can play next year immediately. Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, and Baker Mayfield. And it's funny, we all want to qualify Baker Mayfield. Oh, he's short. He's got all these off-the-field issues. It reminds me a lot of when people were worried about Russell Wilson. People would somehow watch Russell Wilson's tape at Wisconsin and say, we're concerned. Did you watch Russell Wilson's college tape? He was incredible. He made NFL throws. It's like, yeah, that dude can play. I don't care. I don't know what you're seeing. You're biased. Baker Mayfield shows a guy who won games from the pocket and won games with his arm. Oklahoma does not go to the college football playoff without Baker Mayfield winning them games. He, at times, was the best player on the field, and it showed. He won the Heisman. I mean, look, come on. Normally, I don't credit the Heisman, and I probably shouldn't have there. But the truth is, Baker Mayfield won games for Oklahoma with his arm by himself. Not by himself, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not the same team without Baker Mayfield. Kind of a cop-out. I guess you could say that about any quarterback. Truth is, Baker Mayfield, he was Oklahoma. So I like Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold more than Josh Rosen for a couple reasons. First of all, I like their tape better. I think it's more interesting. And they did win more. But here's the truth about Josh Rosen, in my opinion. Quarterback is about more than just throwing the ball. Like, if we're all playing 7-on-7, yeah, Josh Rosen's the guy. But the truth is, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold can extend plays, and they can deal with pressure a lot better than Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen, first of all, he's injured often. But second, he really struggled with a pass rush. I mean, the NFL pocket's not always clean. You got to be able to go off script at least a little bit. Make a guy miss and throw the ball. If it's not perfect, 1, 2, 3, throw the ball. I'm concerned about Josh Rosen a little bit. I don't know. He's a little bit of a deer in the headlights guy. I still like him. But Josh Rosen, of my top 3, it goes Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, in whatever order. Probably Sam Darnold 1, but whatever. And then Josh Rosen is the 3rd quarterback, definitively. 3rd quarterback on the list, in my opinion. I still like Josh Rosen. He's not my favorite quarterback in the NFL draft. Now, the next 3 quarterbacks in this order are Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Luke Falk. None of these guys are ready to play immediately. None of them. Now, Lamar Jackson is the best of these 3. Lamar Jackson is the 4th best quarterback in this year's NFL draft, in my opinion. Here's the thing. So Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson both have significant accuracy issues. You can talk about how great Josh Allen's huge arm is, but he's awful. In fact, he's less accurate than Lamar Jackson. I think if I had to pick one guy to make a throw between Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, I'm picking Lamar Jackson. It's true. It's like, I watched the film and Josh Allen really is not, he's all over the place. But here's the catch. If I'm going to take an inaccurate quarterback, Lamar Jackson is the far and away superior athlete to Josh Allen. So maybe he can't hit the broadside of a barn, but Lamar Jackson can scramble and make something happen. He can throw the ball downfield. He can run for like 70 yards, where Josh Allen is far more limited because he's not as athletic. So Lamar Jackson is more accurate than Josh Allen. Now, here's the guy no one's talking about. So first, Josh Allen's kind of like a wild 8th grade pitcher. It scares me. I'm like, you know the guy that he would like throw one over the backstop, and you're like, how was that even possible? Like, the guy throws 1,000,000 miles an hour, but I am terrified to go to bat against him. Played with a guy like that. It's like, yeah, it's scary. So Luke Falk is not like that. Luke Falk is a guy nobody is talking about. Luke Falk is the 6th best quarterback right now in this year's NFL draft. He's the only quarterback beside the top 5 I would even consider drafting. I like the guy from, the Spiders, Richmond. He's not bad. I'd sign him undrafted probably. I like the 49ers' chances of getting him actually. But Luke Falk is the 6th best quarterback in this year's NFL draft. I'll make a bet with you right now. Right now. The Patriots will draft Luke Falk and develop him. Wait and see. Watch for Luke Falk in 3 to 4 years. He'll be interesting. I think he's interesting. I think he has a great story. He can take a beating. He's way more accurate than both Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. He needs to learn how to play a pro-style system. But look for the name Luke Falk down the road. I do think he's a very interesting quarterback that could make waves later down the road. Kind of like Tom Brady did, where we forgot about Tom Brady. And years later, like, oh, wow, he's the best quarterback from that draft class. Possible that could happen with Luke Falk. So keep your eye on Luke Falk. But again, my top 6 quarterbacks in this year's NFL draft are Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Pick one. I don't really care. Josh Rosen's 3rd. Lamar Jackson's 4 because he's way more athletic and he still struggles with accuracy like Josh Allen. But at least he can run and make plays happen. Josh Allen is the 5th most, is my 5th quarterback on this list, and Luke Falk is the 6th. Luke Falk he could shock everybody and be the best quarterback in this draft, or we could completely forget about him. I really don't know. I don't know what to expect, but I do like Luke Falk quite a bit. Those are my top 6 quarterbacks in this year's NFL draft, and the only quarterbacks I would even consider drafting in this year's NFL draft. Can I show you guys something? Here is what Baker Mayfield said when he was asked if he believed he was the best quarterback in this year's NFL draft.
Absolutely. And if you don't have that mindset, then something's wrong. Everybody else is probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's funny. People blasted Baker Mayfield for this. They just went after him. People said Baker Mayfield is cocky. He's arrogant. He's not, as some people said, quarterbackial. Come on. How is Baker Mayfield supposed to answer that question? Yeah, you know what? Here's his answer. You know what? Sam Darnold is better than me. And, I'm just a weak-armed quarterback who's really short. Come on, give me a break. When you ask a guy, are you the best quarterback in this year's draft? What do you want him to say? It's not. How do you answer that? What's most funny to me, though, is people who are saying they call Baker Mayfield arrogant. Some people do this. They call Baker Mayfield arrogant, and yet they love Josh Rosen. It's like, what? There's no consistency there. Listen to this.
I think I'm the best quarterback here. I think I can diagnose defenses and put the ball where it needs to be and make quick decisions. And I think we're all competitors, and I think every other quarterback should have the same exact belief that I do.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I don't care. But how can you dislike one and not the other? It's the same exact thing. There's a double standard happening here. What? The same answer. In fact, I think Josh Rosen's was more direct. I'm the best quarterback in this year's NFL draft. I'm the best quarterback here. Look, I have no problem with someone who believes in themselves, and I can't believe people do. I can't believe people are criticizing a young quarterback for having faith in himself. It's ridiculous. A buddy of mine I played against in high school, good friend of mine, we played Fortnite together actually. He was recruited to college with me. I played at a small school, and my buddy wanted to play at a big-time college football school. So what he did was he walked on. And one coach who recruited me called him cocky, called him arrogant. And this stuck with me because I didn't believe, I'll say it his name, I didn't believe Nate was arrogant. I was like, he just believes in himself and he wants to succeed. The best part about Nate was this. Nate walked on to a Division I football program and made it. And last year, I watched Nate play on television. I know there's a fine line between cocky and confident, and you can go look at my old personal YouTube channel. I actually interviewed him once. You got to be confident. You cannot be confident and make it. You can't be doubting yourself and make it. It doesn't happen. Like, to do strong opinion sports, you think I could survive if I wasn't confident? So my brother died once, and I had someone comment, "I hope your other brother kills himself too." Well, if I didn't have thick skin, if I didn't believe in myself, I couldn't make it. I get horrible, awful comments, and you got to be confident. How can you criticize a guy for believing in himself? I understand there's that fine line, and some people go way past it. Like, I wouldn't go around telling people, "I'm the best broadcaster in my college." But of course I believe that. You got to believe that. I have no problem with Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield's attitudes. Again, that's what they're supposed to believe. They should believe they're the best quarterback in this year's NFL draft. And to criticize them for believing that, that's silly and that's dumb. Especially to criticize one of them, but not the other. That's the double standard I don't understand. Maybe you have a principle in life. I don't like people who are confident. That's fine if that's your belief. But you can't hate one and like the other. That's a weird double standard. I will not tolerate, cannot stand for that. That's weird. I do not like it. Whew. All right, let's talk about my favorite storyline from this year's NFL Combine. His name is Shaquem Griffin. This is a linebacker from the University of Central Florida who has one hand. It's crazy. It's impressive. It's unbelievable. This guy at the NFL Combine ran a 4.38 40-yard dash. Blows people away. And this guy's catching a ball with one hand, like doing this kind of move, catching. I mean, dude, I don't understand it. It's unbelievable. Guy has no fingers. It's like, wow, that's a remarkable, remarkable story. And I don't want to rain on your parade, but my hope is we judge Shaquem Griffin on his ability to play, not his incredible story. You might hate me for that. That might be awful. And I'm not saying Shaquem Griffin isn't an incredible player. I don't know. I have not watched the tape. I'm not going to criticize his ability. That's not what I'm doing here at all. Hell, I have no idea. He could be a great player. I'm simply saying, do not let Shaquem Griffin's incredible story. Don't let his incredible story cloud your judgment. That's all I'm asking. A couple years ago, Michael Sam was a great story, but he didn't have it to make it in the NFL. It's true. Or Isaiah Thomas. You know, so often we let a great story cloud our judgment. We let our emotions get in the way of truth. It just happens often. Isaiah Thomas is a great story, but Isaiah Thomas is not a great player. Shaquem Griffin could be an incredible player. He could be the best linebacker in this year's NFL draft. I have honestly no idea. I'm not criticizing the person at all. In fact, I love him. I just hope we judge him by his tape and not by his story. Which, again, his story is really special. I'm rooting for Shaquem Griffin. I've watched interviews. I love the dude's a wonderful man. Like, oh my goodness. What a great guy. He's super cool. I love him. Rooting for him. I hope Shaquem Griffin makes it in the NFL. I'm just pointing out, I really hope we judge him by his ability and not by his story. Go Shaquem Griffin. Again, to reiterate, rooting for Shaquem Griffin. Not a hater at all. Please don't label me that way. That's all I want. I don't want that from this video. I'm just saying, take your emotions out of it. That's how I operate usually. All right. We have coming up next, we're going to talk about the 49ers. We're going to talk about Kirk Cousins, and we're going to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Remember, you can subscribe to Strong Opinion Sports on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube. You can also find my best, most interesting clips on YouTube. Tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. If you like this podcast, share it with your friends on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever it is. Tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. My name is Zach Schomler. I will be right back. I'm going to tell you something interesting. At the end of this podcast, I'm going to share my thoughts on a movie. And nothing to do with sports. It'll take about 2 minutes of your time. If you want to hear about it, great. It's at the end, buried at the end. If you want to hear about that, awesome. If not, awesome. We're talking about sports next. The Broncos have just reportedly decided they are done with Kirk Cousins. So the Broncos are out. The Broncos are done with Kirk Cousins. And there's a report that the Vikings have offered Kirk Cousins $91 million to play for them. This is terrible, terrible news for Kirk Cousins. This means that Kirk Cousins is going to the Jets. That's what that means. You know why the story leaked from Minnesota that they offered him that much money? That is so that when the Jets sign Kirk Cousins, the Vikings can say to their fan base, well, guess what? We tried. We offered Kirk Cousins a ton of money, and he didn't want it. The rumor today came out that the Vikings are considering going with Case Keenum because they think there's a marginal difference, and Case Keenum is significantly cheaper. Kirk Cousins is an idiot, man. I understand the allure of a huge contract. I get it. How do you turn down the biggest deal in NFL history? I don't know. But if I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm calling my agent right now and saying, dude, do whatever it takes to get me into a Vikings uniform. Please, please. If I'm Kirk Cousins, I want to play in Minnesota. I'll take a pay cut. How do you want to be remembered? If you're Kirk Cousins, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be the guy the Jets wasted a fortune on? Probably not. Probably not, right? Or do you want to be the guy who took the Vikings to a Super Bowl and won? Kirk Cousins, don't sell out. Please do not sell out. You know, honestly, you're going to make more money in your lifetime if you win in the NFL. When you retire, you'll get deals and commercials and make TV appearances. Think long term. Don't think about right now. Don't take the biggest contract of all time. No offense, Kirk Cousins, you're not worth it. If I'm Kirk Cousins, I want to win. I want to have fun, and I want to extend my brand for my life by winning in Minnesota. If Kirk Cousins goes to the Jets, not the Vikings, I will lambaste him. It will be because of his ego. Kirk Cousins cannot let his ego get in the way of his ability and his chance to be successful. I want to see Kirk Cousins end up in Minnesota, and I'm convinced if he doesn't, it's because of his ego. And that's sad and that's scary, and that's something I do not want to see. Oh, yeah, 49ers fans, are you ready? Hope you guys are ready. Recently, there was a coin toss between the 49ers and the Raiders to decide who got the better draft pick. So the 49ers won the coin toss, which meant that the 49ers got the number 9 overall pick, and the Raiders were pushed down to the number 10 overall pick. I'm sure this felt good. I'm sure, to beat the Raiders in the Bay Area and getting bragging rights, I'm sure that was awesome for 49ers fans. Sure. But I'm seeing and hearing people, excited about the Raiders-49ers rivalry. And I know I live in Pullman, Washington. I'm not in the Bay Area. I'm not in San Francisco, not in Oakland. I don't have to ride the train with fans from another team. I don't know. But I'm sure it's nice to be able to argue at bars and at parties. But if I'm a 49er fan, I do not care about the Raiders one bit. I really don't. The Raiders are irrelevant if I'm a 49ers fan. Honestly, I want the 49ers to be more worried about the Rams and the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings. Your division is the most important. Worry about the NFC West. And then worry about the NFC when you're trying to win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl. Unless you play the Raiders in the Super Bowl, or maybe the one game a year you play them, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares what the Raiders are doing? They barely affect your season at all. And I do believe that 49ers fans may be getting a little bit ahead of themselves. You guys know me. Look, you guys know me. Nobody believes in the 49ers more than I do. But we need to temper our expectations. For goodness sake, man. Why do a lot of movies fail? People get their expectations way up here and the movie gets overhyped. And then fans are disappointed. Again, you know me. I believe in the 49ers. I think the 49ers are possibly a Super Bowl team. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is that good. Jimmy Garoppolo is like the second best quarterback in the NFC, in my opinion. It's Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy G. Russell Wilson's third. Like, I think that highly of Jimmy Garoppolo. But remember, please remember, this is basically the same roster that went 1-11 last year in Levi's Stadium. Sure, not home and away, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, The only difference this year is that right now, the 49ers have a different quarterback. Oh, and you lost Reuben Foster. Like, I just don't want to see people's hearts get broken. Don't forget, this is still only year 2 of a rebuild. My fear is that if the 49ers aren't amazing right away, people are going to bail. I guess honestly, that's the takeaway from this video. My fear is people will bail on the 49ers if they don't come out and dominate immediately. The word right now is patience, honestly. Patience for the Browns, patience for the 49ers. I understand that the 49ers won 5 games in a row to end last year's season, but last year's season is over. Time to move on to something new. And even if the 49ers aren't a juggernaut immediately next season, still have hope. 49ers looking up, man. They're on the upswing. The future is incredibly bright for the 49ers. But again, this is only year 2 of a 5-year plan. So my fear again is that if the 49ers don't win a Super Bowl, people are going to be disappointed. Relax. Temper your expectations and have patience. We are on year 2 of a 5-year plan to turn around the 49ers. And man, things look good. If I'm a 49ers fan, I am so excited. But don't let your expectations run wild. That's what I don't want to see. People hated The Force Awakens because they thought it was going to be the second coming of Jesus Christ or something. Relax. Enjoy it. The 49ers are going to win a lot of games this year. And if they don't win a Super Bowl, the year isn't lost. They're on the upswing. There's good things coming. Have patience and relax. All right. By the way, did you know that Max McCaffrey plays for the 49ers? Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's brother, Max, plays wide receiver now for the 49ers. And apparently Max, Christian, and their brother, Dylan, who plays for Michigan, were hiking in Colorado when they watched a hiker fall 20 feet on his head and broke his neck. And the heroes in this story are the McCaffrey brothers. They called 911. They helped get the guy safely to the hospital. It's a crazy story. It's really cool and interesting. And I wanted to share that because I didn't know that. I knew Christian McCaffrey was related to this story. What I didn't know was Max McCaffrey, his brother, plays for the 49ers now. He's on their roster. Interesting. I didn't realize the 49ers were connected to that story as well. Thought it was cool. Thought I would share. Drink some Alka-Seltzer. Oh, God. Oh, man. I'm excited. Next Saturday, when I record a podcast, I'm going to be drinking a hard cider on the podcast because I'll be 21. Oh, I'm so excited. I want to end the show with this. Last year in the NBA playoffs, the Oklahoma City Thunder were the 6th seed. And remember, this was the year that Russell Westbrook was basically by himself. Russell Westbrook and no help. He survived the season. He made it through. Had a bunch of triple doubles. Won MVP. And got his team to the playoffs. Not only the 8th seed, but the 6th seed in the NBA's Western Conference. And this offseason, the Oklahoma City Thunder added Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. And they struggled at first. But I was one of the people that said, wait, relax. Let's see what happens. I think they will improve and get better. I think they'll adjust and improve. Well, I did wait, and I did see, and it's not happening. Right now, the playoffs started today, and we're late. This is March 7th, now March 8th. This is late in March, late in the NBA season, after the All-Star break. If the playoffs started right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder would be the 7th seed in the NBA's Western Conference. This is lower than last year. Remember, Russell Westbrook all by himself, 6th seed in the NBA playoffs. Now you add 2 stars and they're worse. They are worse. Doesn't work. Paul George is going to leave. He's going to leave Oklahoma City and go to the Lakers. That's what's going to happen. And what's more interesting and more alarming is the problem appears to be Russell Westbrook. According to the Big League, thebiglead.com, Russell Westbrook shot, when Russell Westbrook shoots 17 shots or less, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 14-2. They have a winning record, tremendous. I think it's 87% winning percentage. Now, when Russell Westbrook shoots 18 shots or more, The Thunder are 22-25. They have a losing record. That's a huge swing. They're better when he shoots less. And right now, Russell Westbrook is shooting too many shots. That's just the truth. And he's shooting 28% from three-point land. That's awful. Now, part of the big reason why Russell Westbrook is not making it happen is trust. I truly believe this. I struggle in group projects. I often do all the work myself because I don't trust the partners I'm working with. I'm embarrassed of it, but it's true. I'm honest. At least I'm honest. It's a flaw I need to work on. Russell Westbrook also struggles with his teammates. He tries to do it all by himself. Very similar to when I do like a math project in my math class. But Russell Westbrook is becoming the guy in a pickup basketball game that dribbles too much. He never passes the ball. And he jacks up weird, crazy, ridiculous shots. That is what Russell Westbrook is becoming. And nobody wants to play with Russell Westbrook. He doesn't trust his teammates, takes all the shots himself, and nobody wants to play with him. It's sad, but it's also true. I have a prediction right now. Here is a prediction right this moment. Russell Westbrook will never win an NBA championship. Ever. I'm going to look back on this moment. I'm going to remember this moment. I'm calling it right now. Russell Westbrook will never win an NBA championship. His inability to change and adjust and trust his teammates are holding him back. That's my show. That's all I have. I'm going to tell you guys about a movie. First, I got to say, remember, you can subscribe to Strong Opinion Sports on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube. You can also find my best, most interesting clips on YouTube. Tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Help me grow by telling your friends about this podcast. All right. While I was sick, I watched a movie called Annihilation. It's got Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaacs. Loved it. I'm not recommending you watch it, but I loved it. Here's why I'm not recommending it. I watched it with about 25 other people. Movie ends, credits roll. Everybody groans. Ugh. And they're like, that was awful. I heard multiple people and all kinds of conversations around me say that was awful. I'm by myself. I loved it. For me, this is a deep sci-fi movie. And what this movie is about is the entire movie was an analogy for cancer. Incredibly interesting. But it's also a movie about decision making. You know, people often make self-destructive decisions. And what this did was help me deal with my younger brother's death. Help me understand kind of what happened with my brother. I loved it. This movie made me think a lot. And if you ever see Annihilation, what I ask is please comment, find me on social media, tell me what you thought about Annihilation, because I would love to have that conversation with you guys. I love movies. I have a dream of doing a movie podcast someday. I'll be way more in depth. I love to talk about the nerdiness of movie news and kind of the politics and the strategy of releasing movies. But if you ever watch Annihilation, please tell me what you think about it, because I would love to have that conversation with you guys. Subscribe to Strong Opinion Sports, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. Tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. If you like this podcast, help me grow by telling your friends about it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, face-to-face. Tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. If you understand Reddit, do me a shout-out. Do me some help. Next week, I'm on spring break. And while I'm on spring break, I plan to figure out Discord and a Facebook group so you guys can join that. And we can share all kinds of links. We can talk. We can have a better conversation about sports. You can share links. You find news stories. Like, oh, this is interesting. I get comments often like, did you see this? And they share a link. We'll have one centralized place where you guys can share your opinion about this and that. And I can take it all in, kind of like a comment section or a board. What are they called? I don't remember. There's a board of some kind back in the day. Anyways, it'll help us have a conversation about sports and help me funnel it more about stories you guys want to hear, so that way you guys can share the stories you're finding and I can share my opinion on them. I think that'd be fun to be interactive. If you guys want to join that, the Facebook group or the Discord, that will be live. Hopefully not next week, but the week after next. I'm excited about that. Guys, I love you so much. We are over 600 subs on YouTube, and I could not be happier. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to keep drinking more Alka-Seltzer. Hopefully when I do the podcast on Friday, I'll be 100%. And I'm so excited for you guys. Love you guys. Have a great one. Take care. Bam, we're done.